You know, can I say it again? Can I say National Commission? All right? Can I say National Czar? Can I say someone should freaking give a crap? Can I bring you back? You know, you want to get... It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable what goes on in this sport. It's no different than, in some ways, than when the mob ran it back in the days. You know, and they did what they wanted.
And Mauricio, for when I have my fight parties, you know, I've had my fight parties since we can't go to the fights, and I have my family over, and one of the things they always is, well, this guy's a champion, but this guy's a champion. Who's the champion? With another belt, and in another division we might be talking about in a little bit too, with the 224 pound and below heavyweight division. You know, do you understand that it gets hard to get people who aren't already fans of boxing to grasp why there's all these belts? To them, it's like, why isn't there just one champion a division?
You tell them to follow the WBC, and then they will have the world champion.
But now there's two world champions from the WBC.
Well, if you want to go into that, just do it all day long.
They have a protective bubble. They call it the franchise tag. It's like if you play checkers and you put two checkers on top of each other and it becomes a super checker, and now you can double jump all over the place. What was that called when you put the double? It became like
King.
King. Yeah, they were like super checkers, like checkers on steroids.
I don't even think there's terms and definitions around the franchise. It's basically like we'll decide what.
But that's what they are. They can do whatever they want,
and they are.
That's the term.
Yeah, and that's.
They don't have to fight a guys and someone else, so they don't have to fight a Heyman. It's protection.
I already made explanation. It's very clear. It's a new concept. If you want to go around in the same thing, it's okay. I respect it, and you can go to your fans and continue that same situation. I'm trying to be very clear, very transparent. It's a very unique situation that has happened with Canelo and that has happened here in the lightweight. I have explained the reasons for their existence.
The mob in the old days, you paid protection. You think it's any different? It's protection money. There.
And just like in football, in soccer, you have the World Cup, you have the Fantasy Cup, you have the Euro Cup, you have all these different scenarios. In boxing, cannot resolve the fact that there are many world organizations that have belts.
Nike doesn't make rules in the NBA. They're a business that sells sneakers to people that play in the NBA. But they don't make rules in the NBA. The WBC and these other organizations, they make rules, so you can't become partners with somebody when you also make rules in the business that they're in, that you're basically partners with now. Because there's no doubt, if you're going to be honest about it, they're partners with Canelo. And there's no other way to go about it, to explain it, unless you want to put your dunce cap on and turn in the corner and not see the world.
They are recognized, but there exists like 20 or 30 different organizations that want to say they have a belt. So putting it out as it is, I can only respond to what the WBC does and what the WBC means. So control others existing or doing X, Y, or Z. I feel very proud and very confident about the franchise. It is creating avenue for great fights.
It's like if you play checkers and you put two checkers on top of each other and it becomes a super checker, and now you can double jump all over the place. What was that called when you put the double? It became like
King.
King. Yeah, they were like super checkers, like checkers on steroids.
I don't even think there's terms and definitions around the franchise. It's basically like we'll decide what.
But that's what they are. They can do whatever they want,
and they are.
That's the term.
Yeah, and that's.
They don't have to fight a guys and someone else, so they don't have to fight a Heyman. It's protection.
And that's what I remain with that. I feel very convinced and very happy without the franchise designation, maybe we would not have seen Lomachenko fight Lopez, and maybe we would not have seen all these things happening. I don't know what to say, because we just keep going in circles.
Question before. You ready for the answer? Why, when they sitting around the room, the people that run these alphabet organizations, these corrupt organizations, and don't a damn person tell me that's too strong a word, because they are. You know, it's just a matter of what are they this second opposed to 5 seconds ago, but they are. It's already been documented. It's already been, go do your work, go on Google. It's been documented with these organizations where some of the heads of them have been caught on tape selling ratings. So it's been documented. The problem is the FBI and the people that investigate this don't go after it the way they would go after you or somebody else. And they get, nobody cares enough. That's the problem. You figure out why. I'm not going to figure that out. You figure out why. But nobody cares enough.
Whose title holds more precedence? Who has the bigger title in recognition of the WBC? Is it Teofimo or is it Devin right now?
The franchise designation was created to recognize a very few fighters of the highest level of importance in industry. Teofimo Lopez is the WBC franchise. He won the undisputed fight. Devin Haney, WBC champion, and he's fighting Gamboa. And I understand there's confusion about this matter, but I take the satisfaction to see great activity of great fights happening. And I'm just happy to see Lopez Lomachenko, to see Haney Gamboa, to see Garcia against Campbell, to see Linares against Fortuna. So it's a great tournament in the division, many fights for the fans to enjoy, and it's as simple as that. We are for the fighters, we're for the entertainment, and if I am to blame for any confusion, on the heat.
Could you say that last part again, Mauricio? Sorry again with the connection.
Yes, I'm sorry. As I was mentioning, there's a great tournament going on with great events.
I heard that you said about the heat. If there's any confusion or heat, what was that again?
Yeah, I'm very satisfied to see many great fights happening, and if there is confusion, any unpleasant feelings, anyone, I take the heat. I take the responsibility. I'm proud and happy to see what is happening with these great fights, riders, and them making a living for themselves.
You know, what happens is, to answer your question direct, and a lot of people, when they hear this, they're gonna, I don't know if they're gonna fall off their seats, but it is what it is. There is an answer. Why do they make these decisions? Because a promoter, somebody else who's their partner, who shouldn't be their partner, because people making money in the industry should not be partners or close to people that administrating rules in the industry. That's obvious, but it not in this sport. So somebody, when they make a decision to make a guy a franchise guy, to make Canelo, who there's no doubt he's the biggest money maker in the sport. So in some ways he's the most important guy in the sport because he brings in the most money in the sport. But there's people in the NBA that are all important. Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant when he was around. They're all, but it's not the same situation. And they all big money makers. And in football, you can come up with the same names, you know, and understand what I'm saying. When you could even say, and I'm going to go down a path, and I'm going to try to be as fair as I can. But at the end of the day, I'm going to end up in one place, the truth. Where you could say, when Nike was involved, they made Michael Jordan partners with them, basically, and gave him his own part of the company, his own shoe, because he was that big, he was that powerful, he was the most powerful guy in the NBA. Fine. One difference. Nike doesn't make rules in the NBA.
Absolutely. And but Mauricio, you can still hear me, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. But you know, I'm sure you can understand that where the confusion and the heat comes from is it's so rare that we have a undisputed champion in boxing, and now seemingly we have one, but there's a dispute, so it can't be undisputed because now, you know, I know you touched on it just now, but the main question is that people have is whose title is holds more precedence. And if you just had to say one or the other, is it Teofimo's franchise title or is it Devin Haney's WBC world title? If we could only look for one guy to hold precedence, who would it be, Teofimo or Devin, Mauricio?
I don't understand the question. This is a new concept that the WBC introduced, and it has been an avenue for the possibility of making the great fights.
There's no other way. It is what it is. So, and I'll tell you what else it is. It's a guy, De La Hoya, Golden Boy, that has Canelo. That's the promotional company protecting their golden goose, protecting the WBC's golden goose. How, Teddy? What do you mean? They make them. They don't want. Al Heyman is a competitor, another one of the power brokers, another big promoter. He's got the Charlo brothers. He's got Charlo in that same division. Golden Boy and his people, and yeah, the answer is yeah, there is an answer for it, unfortunately. Would you say they sit around the room? Yeah, the answer is, part of it is you have Golden Boy with WBC. They don't want Charlo to become the number one, to be the mandatory, where their golden goose has to fight a guy they don't want to fight. They want to be protected from that. They want to be separate from that. They want to be bigger than that. They want to fight fights that make bigger money, that don't have to fight and risk against a guy like that and go down that road. They want protection. So they go, and they know that Heyman, smart promoter, is going to move Charlo into position to be the mandatory. So what do? We'll take care of you, partner. We'll make Charlo the regular champion, make him and Heyman happy, and we'll make you, what's the name of the damn stupid thing?
Franchise.
We'll make you franchise champion, where you have now a bubble over you. Where franchise champion, you don't have to fight mandatories. You don't have to fight those fights. You're better than everyone. You're protected from that. We'll make that for that reason.
I fully explain. The franchise designation puts a fighter in a level of itself. This is Teofimo Lopez. Devin Haney is the WBC champion of the division. So I think it's very clear, and Devin Haney has the ability of the champion. He's going to fight the winner of Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell, and he's going to fight the winner of Fortuna and Linares. Lopez is the franchise champion, and he has no obligations to fulfill. He's free to go out and fight in other weight categories against any other champions and against anyone in that scenario. So I think I understand what I'm trying to say, that there is confusion, but I'm feeling firm to say that this is for the greater activity of boxing overall.
It's an unregulated sport to the degree that it's unregulated. It's a travesty. That's not too powerful a word, quite frankly, what they do to the sport. And sometimes the sport becomes less relevant than it should, and that's why. And they push it towards irrelevancy with their actions.
Mauricio, what originally when the title was made last year in 2019 for Canelo and then Loma, it was said that it was non-transferable. You know, originally these titles in Rule 2, I believe you could have a vote for it, you know, your board, but you know, what made that change? That originally this was the title only meant for guys who are kind of, you know, who have been around a long time. And now you give it to a kid who's 23. I mean, originally it was supposed to be for just, you know, guys who've been around a long, long time. Ain't that right? And it wasn't supposed to be transferable.
Like, does that diminish his WBC title because now he doesn't have the franchise belt? The whole thing's a laugher. What about Wilder? He's like, what's his record? 39-0 with 40 knockouts. 40-0 with 39 knockouts. In that context, should he have a franchise belt? He's basically knocked out everyone he's fought except Fury, who he won in a contract. Like, what? I just don't understand. Like, when they're sitting around, who is telling Sullivan, like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's make a franchise belt.
What changed for this fight, Mauricio?
This fight is the one that changed. Teofimo Lopez and Top Rank requested to have the possibility of becoming the franchise champion, fighting for it against Lomachenko, and he defeated Lomachenko. So as a result, that's a simple response. He defeated the great fighter, the great champion, the franchise, and he endorsed the rule. If you go back to any rules in any sport,
You see the senators, the congressmen, when something goes wrong in baseball, they get involved. Why don't they get involved in this sport? These athletes count as much, should be protected as much. This sport been around longer than those sports. Why don't they? You know, what happens is, to answer your question direct, and a lot of people, when they hear this, I don't know if they're gonna fall off their seats, but it is what it is. There is an answer. Why do they make these decisions? Because a promoter, somebody else who's their partner, who shouldn't be their partner, because people making money in the industry should not be partners or close to people that administrating rules in the industry. That's obvious, but it not in this sport.
now you have the 2-point conversion in football. You have in baseball, you have instant replay. I mean, any rule can be upgraded and implemented for the betterment sport. So that's what we did with this specific one.
And I totally grasp the logic, Mauricio. I know you said on the show earlier this week, Coppinger and Pugmire, their podcast, that the title was meant for guys that drive the sport. And you mentioned other sports, but isn't that tough to say, Mauricio? Because in the NBA or in the NFL, it's not like they give Tom Brady or LeBron James a franchise title every year. You know, they either have the title, the NBA Finals, the Super Bowl, and that's it. They don't get to keep keeping it just because of their name and their stature. You know, what do you say to that, Mauricio?
No, it's a much different. You have to compare. You cannot compare boxing to any other sport.
He gave him his own part of the company, his own shoe, because he was that big, he was that powerful, he was the most powerful guy in the NBA. Fine. One difference. Nike doesn't make rules in the NBA. They're a business that sells sneakers to people that play in the NBA. But they don't make rules in the NBA. The WBC and these other organizations, they make rules, so you can't become partners with somebody when you also make rules in the business that they're in, that you're basically partners with now. Because there's no doubt, if you're going to be honest about it, they're partners with Canelo.